Please be advised that the following episode of Dystopia contains talk of suicide, which may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Hello and welcome to the 25th episode of Dystopia. I'm your host, Matt Davidson, and once again I'm joined by my colleague, Andrew Hodgson.
How are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, Andrew. How are you going today?
I'm going pretty well.
What have you been up to this week? Anything fun and exciting?
Mate, on the road, away a little bit, hotel room to hotel room. It's not as glamorous as it sounds, you know?
Yeah, people always think, it'd be so much fun to have a travelling job and, flying places and checking into hotels and seeing the scenery and the landscape. And you're like, yeah, after a while, it's all the same after a while, isn't
mate,
it?
You just get room service, so you do a bit of work and go to bed. That's sort of, I mean, like when I first started doing it, for the first few times, you feel like you're fucking James Bond or something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, the novelty soon wears off.
Well, then you've also got the corporate credit card as well. Like, oh, yeah, tap away here and there, yeah. Then, it's all... It all ends up being the same thing.
At the end of the day, it becomes a job, But it's a job.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just a cog in the big machine, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you're sleeping in like fucking hotel beds as well. After a while, like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. You just I want my own bed back again.
Yeah, you just want to be home.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, and as good as room service sounds, it's not really like a home cooked meal, Yeah.
Exactly.
I always inevitably end up going a massive steak and salad. It's great, but it's not. Yeah,
when it's the fourth day in a row, you're like, okay, now I really need to get home and have something better. It's not good for the old cholesterol.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. What about you? What have you been up to this week, man?
Yeah, well, in a couple of episodes ago, we talked about how I like my structure and my time and things like that.
Yes, I remember it well.
Yes, and I had to break that cycle last week because I was staying at my dad's place looking after his dogs and just getting up at different times and doing different things at night. It threw a spanner in the works for me.
You'll remember those dogs, listeners, if you listen to our
Akira
episode. Yeah, they made a guest appearance on that one.
Yeah, unintentional appearance. Yes. No, it was good fun actually. Just looking after them, and you forget because the dogs. One's 18 months, the other one's 3 years old. You just forget how the energy they have when they're young.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, like you take them for an hour walk and they're still wanting to play after. I'm like, oh. Come on, I'm bloody buggered now. Like, what are you doing? But no, it was good. It was good fun. And actually, last night we went out to. This is not related to this, but we went to a French restaurant for my mum's birthday dinner. Ooh. So I know you might get a little bit, salivating at thinking about what I had last night. So I had for entree, I had 3 scallops, and it was served in like clams, and had cheesy garlic sauce, and with a baguette as well. So you dip the cheese into that. Oh. It was getting me going.
Daddy likes that.
He does. Then when the main course came on, I got the Wagyu sirloin steak. And when it's like sliced as well, like beautifully with the sea salt on top of it, and with creamy mashed potatoes and
you got it medium rare.
Oh, medium rare, but then it came more on the rare side as well. You know the way the French do it.
And to be honest, it's a medium rare. I'll get fucked.
It is, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that then had the garlic butter as well on top of it, melted with them. Oh, mate, it was so good. Oh, it was just so heavenly. I thought it was so appropriate for what we're talking about today, so I had to mention it. Yeah. I was very well fed last night, I'll tell you that. It was very nice.
Dessert or?
No, I think we're too full for bloody the entree and the mains, so didn't go the old creme brulee or something, but...
Very cultured.
Oh, yeah, I feel very cultured. Got to give it to the French. They can make good cuisines. They know how to do it.
Yeah, I do tend to give it to the French a lot in my life, and I tend to give them a lot of shit for their antics during the Second World War and just rolling over. But they do some shit pretty well, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Like you think of also dessert, like you said, like dessert stuff or like entree things as well. Like you get for breakfast you have like a croissant or something or a even though technically it's not from apparently France, I apparently found out it's actually from Austria or something like that. And originally, the croissant, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. My work colleagues told me that. I'm like, oh, there we go.
Well, French fries and another thing are actually from Belgium.
There we go. See, another thing that's yes.
American Soldier apparently heard 2 Belgian people speaking about it, and they speak French there. So I think he did just coined the name French fries. Is the story I heard. I was on a tour in Brussels once, and I picked that up. That's all I picked up from that tour. So, and you're supposed to have it with mayonnaise.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, it is pretty nice with mayonnaise, or like Aldi sauce or something. Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah,
but then also too with the French, you croissants, then you get your chocolate eclairs and stuff, and all those
macaroons.
Macaroons. The cuisine's it's top notch. So I'll give them credit there. Well, on last week's episode, we decided to walk away from Omelas, and when we walked away, we headed towards the Delicatessen, didn't we? We ended up there. In a post-apocalyptic Delicatessen.
Yeah. And in all honesty, watching this one, I think I text you, man. I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. In all honesty, this was a listener episode from the Daily Doggies.
Yeah, no.
And I was watching this thinking, in fact, I finished it and think, I think I've been stitched up here.
Yeah. He's just on a prank on us, isn't he? Yeah.
That's what that's what I thought. But I felt like, it's like that lurid sort of sickly kind of the film, the way it's done, how bright it is. But it felt to me, it had all the hallmarks of one of those like art house or arty-farty films that you'd see at like a film festival.
Yeah.
The critics, brilliant.
Yes. Oh.
And someone who's too cultured for their own good would you just wouldn't get it,
Yeah.
It had all the hallmarks, like.
It's a champagne socialist delight movie, isn't
it?
Yeah.
And the one like you'd come home at 3:00 in the morning with a night on the piss with a kebab and put on SBS and you're what the fuck's this?
Actually, would be. It does have that, doesn't it? Yeah.
But you know what? Almost immediately after watching it, I took the dog bloke for a walk, and I can't explain why, but it sort of sunk in. Like there were it made me think. Like I think I appreciated it a bit more, and as I started to do a little bit more of the research and stuff, I could see a bit of the nuance. So like watching it again, I'm not going to say it's my favorite movie in the world, but I can definitely see why it's a cult classic.
Oh, absolutely.
Some of the I think the romance between Julie and Louison and the way everyone's sort of charmed by him, and they kind of, it's hard for them to justify killing him, and then sort of what it says about, like, I don't know, factory farming and clinging to routines, and there's a lot, deceptively there's a lot in there, and I appreciate it for making me think.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's one of those films I enjoyed when I watched it, as it was just a pure film. Like
so
you
enjoyed? Did you just go in sort of, I'm just going to watch it?
Like, I went and watched it. Yeah. But a couple 20 minutes in, I'm going, what the hell's going on here? This is a bit strange. But then then also too, I kind of knew it was going to be one of those quirky French films, right? So you kind of had that anticipation of like it's going to be a bit slapstick, bit like a mime doing those silly tricks on people, like a Circus Soleil clown type thing.
I've been challenged to get a South Park reference in here, but it's like, a fucking French clown with Cartman, isn't it?
Yeah, it is like that. Yeah, that's why I had that kind of feel to it.
When he's doing the what's he?
Yeah, I think it was that Quintuplets episode, wasn't it? In the year 2000. Remember every episode was 2000s? Yeah.
when he's ringing the bell or some shit, and the Cartman's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, that's right. And he opens the umbrella and it's warm, like the rain comes in or something. Yeah, something stupid like that. Yeah.
Go away, please. He doesn't want your dumbass umbrella, clown. Beat it. Ow.
You didn't know that was going to happen, did you, Stanley?
Oh, God, that was so funny. Oh, man, somebody stopped my guts from bursting out of my sides.
No, I remember seeing, I think my parents, or my mum took me to Circus Soleil back in 2003, 2004. It was like the first time it ever came to Sydney. And yeah, I remember thinking, this is not the circus. What the hell's going on here? It was all this weird, mime stuff and going around and
like fucking clowns. Like, there's nothing funny about a fucking clown. Like, why are they associated with humor? I've never got it, but it's anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But or even though technically, like, it's French Canadian, but like it's got that influence from France, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
No, Stanley. Cirque du Cheville is French-Canadian. They get acrobats and singers from all over the world and do very artistic things.
Ah.
Why the hell do you want to take these boys to see that foo-foo French theater crap?
But yeah, I had that kind of feel to it, and you're kind of going into it knowing it's going to have those slapstick kind of style to it as well, and that cartoonish feel to it. It felt like more like a Tom and Jerry or Looney Tunes aspects of, with like the way they're falling over and they hit each other. And
I think, as you said, that slapstick nature of it, right?
Exactly, yeah. So... But then got into it and thought of, like, you see the characters and what it's trying to say, and it's kind of like you kind of get immersed in its world as well. Like it was interesting, yeah, very interesting movie. But it feels like the Dystopia is more the background as opposed to the actual focus of it, isn't it?
Definitely, and I think the fact that. And I think the fact that you don't know what the apocalyptic event is almost sort of helps it. In the sense of, I suppose, the story of the road we went down, you don't know what the apocalyptic event is. It's just about a man and a boy.
Yeah.
And you're worried about the relationship. I guess this is what I appreciate, because you kind of focus on the routine in like a cramped place and that human need to sort of hang on to routine.
Yeah.
As absurd as it is, like it kind of shows that bit of human psychology as well. So you can kind of focus on that.
Well, it's kind of like saying that it doesn't really matter what the post-apocalyptic event or cause it. This is in this post-apocalyptic world, and this is how people are trying to survive in this landscape, isn't it?
Yeah. And it does, but there's another film that comes to mind when we've talked about it, and we seem to bash our like Escape from New York episode a lot, because that was another one that was very much, it's just dystopia was the backdrop, but it never went anywhere. With this one does. There's some depth.
There's definitely there's some critique there, isn't there?
And it's very well done in just a very weird or absurd way,
it's kind of like everything's like a laugh at the end of the day, or like you can see the humor in it. Like remember a couple of scenes with when that lady's just trying to kill herself the whole time. You just like and all the obscure ways she's trying to do it. I'm like, it's just like, and then he's getting interrupted.
The voices in the background, and
and then you find out like the whole time it's like one of the neighbors like trying to. It's like, oh, okay, this is very bizarre.
And she couldn't even do it, and then she's.
I love the part too when she's like. She's got the noose around her neck, and then she's got the pills, and then the shotgun lined up, and then also like was it the bathtub with the toaster or something?
No, well, she turns the gas on.
The gas
she's
on
got a
as well.
Molotov cocktail and she still can't do it.
Do it, yeah. It's just,
But I'm like, what the fuck? But I think the point was like she didn't want to. It's either she's very religious, and if you commit suicide, you go to hell. So therefore, she wanted to set up someone else to do it, or she didn't want to take responsibility. I couldn't. Maybe that's what
I think it was a bit of both. Yeah.
I was just like, it's just.
And then the husband would come in and be like, "Oh, is everything okay, darling?" And then walk out again. Like, oh, okay. I guess like back then too, you could kind of like make light of things like that. When we saw that with Jerry Seinfeld, one of his episodes, when he talking about suicide in that way.
What does he say? Should we drop it in?
Yeah, drop it in.
Yeah.
The thing I don't understand about the suicide person is the people that try and commit suicide, for some reason, they don't die, and then that's it. They stop trying. Why? Why don't they just keep trying? What has changed? Is their life any better now? No. In fact, it's worse, because now they've found out, here's one more thing you stink at.
I mean, fuck, that was the 90s, right? That's
like these days you definitely can't make light of it or something without doing something or making a trigger warning or something. So, yeah, I found it was interesting seeing that, and I felt like the film has like dated well. Like, it didn't feel like I'm watching some like crappy kind of terrible CGI or something. There, it felt like it definitely feels like it was from the 90s, but like you wouldn't be like, oh, this is definitely really early 90s. It felt like the style and the animation and the setting is very kind of timeless in a way.
I think that kind of leads us nicely into Jean Pierre Jeunet and Marc Caro, I guess, in the sense of like the way they work together. So I think it's aged really well because of, I guess Marc Caro was like he was a comic artist and production designer, so he was sort of specialized in creating those like elaborate sets and costumes and visual style, but there was no reliance on CGI, and that's why it as you say, if this had come out 10 years later possibly, and there's like CGI, we were just talking about it before, and we might even get a Creed reference in here. But when those early 2000s video clips or music videos and stuff like that, where they just look terrible, and it would have looked great at the time, but you're like, oh god.
Well, I think when I talked on a previous episode, but it feels like the last kind of film series that did it well before CGI took everything was what called The Lord of the Rings, right? Like that trilogy where
it was used very minimally.
Minimally, it was incorporated a little bit here and there, but still, it was at the end of the day, it was still props and settings and actual like on-set locations. But after that it got very oversaturated. It
got very lazy.
Exactly, relying too much on it. And from an actor's point of view too, is that when you're always acting in front of a green screen and using like fake props and visuals, it kind of takes away that magic of it feeling realistic as well. So we said like with The Lord of the Rings, and then same with this film, they're all interacting with the sets and the props and the costumes and stuff, and it makes it feel a bit more authentic in a way.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does.
It was a bit hard to research this one actually, because there's not a lot of information on it too much. Like there's no video essays on YouTube. There's no like kind of blogs
there's one or two video essays, but they seem to be like 2-minute reviews or something, and trying to find interviews with Jean Pierre Jeunet and Marc Caro is very hard as well.
Exactly. Well, this was their debut film together as well, right? Like they did other things up besides before this one, but this was their first like groundbreaking film that they put out.
That's right. Now, I think they said that they actually met in like the French underground comics / animation scene in the late 70s, and they had created this sort of partnership, like the blending cartoonish surrealism with dark humor. So you can definitely see all the elements in that.
Absolutely,
this film. But it's often compared to Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Now this is a movie I've never seen.
I've seen that actually.
But I believe that's quite obscure and a little bit fantastic.
I watched it. I think I watched it like 5-6 years ago. I didn't really enjoy it because maybe I was going and thinking it's going to be like a a dystopian kind of
like 1984 or something.
1984 or a like a Blade Runner or something. But it wasn't like that at all. It was it had a lot of humor in it and stuff. We'll do it down the track, that one.
Yeah, I've read about, like, I know of it, and I've seen, like, it's always on those top 10 lists and things like that. You always find it somewhere, like whether underrated or top 10 dystopian films. It always seems to find its way in there. Yeah. But from what I gather, I think it's like the absurdity of routine or something, isn't it? Like
from memory, yeah.
Yeah. It probably is a bit arty-farty, what I consider arty-farty, you know. But
yeah, exactly.
But you know,
I think
it's highly influential. So
it's like anything, I guess, when you're watching a film or a TV show. Like if you're going in with the mindset thinking you're going to watch something serious and it ends up being like a satire, and then it kind of gets you off guard or off balance. Where if you go in knowing what it's about and what it's representing, then you can enjoy it. A bit like when we're going to watching this film, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what it's going to be about and what it's critiquing and stuff.
Well, that's what I appreciate with this, because I already gave my initial thoughts on this film when I watched it, and I was like, fucking, this is it really smacked me in the face, and I didn't know what to think. Yeah, and it caught me off guard, and then doing a little bit of research and reading up on what France was like at the time and their background, so the director and the producer's background, and a few other little things, and I'm like, when I went in knowing that, I kind of really appreciated it, and I think there's almost like I would have never watched it again if we weren't doing this podcast, and I appreciate it for that, and it's kind of a metaphor for life in there, right? You don't have to hate something just because you don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably your fault you don't understand it. Yeah. But that's sometimes easier said than done, right?
Yeah, exactly. And from what I've read too, both directors were especially too, you're thinking at the time period, as you said before, like France after being liberated from the Nazis and post, 20, 30 years after that, and then the Marshall Plan, and a lot of big American influence on their culture and coming back into prominence and coming to their own country again. And apparently at the time too, especially in the 80s, a lot of the mainstream French films were very gritty, really realism and predicting everyday life, where these guys were kind of getting sick of this kind of style. They wanted to go back to the old French roots of filmmaking and theatre and things like that, where things were more fantasy, surrealism, exaggerated over the top, larger than life characters, as opposed to the my God, guys, what are we doing? That kind of stuff.
I guess you'd almost say French cinema was kind of reflecting that. I think in France at the time, I suppose they felt they were losing their identity.
Exactly,
yeah. They were moving to being Americanized. I guess this was the time around the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I think the European Union. I think it was only a couple of years later, the Maastricht Treaty in 1992 created the European Union. So kind of, I think France was sort of pulling through to like being European as opposed to French, and I think there was a fear of losing their identity, and I guess that you saw that split in French theatre at the time. There's a movie they reference, I think La Haine, which I've never seen, but I think it's about a student activist who's sort of tortured by the police or something, and then he goes out and he creates a bit of an uprising. There's rioting in the streets, so that was that gritty realism, and then you had this sort of surreal escapism. So I think City of the Lost Children was another one that these two did, but like Delicatessen is definitely like...
Well, they say that, Delicatessen was the kind of one that really revived the old nostalgic feel of old French film.
Yeah, and you can see it when you watch it. Like, it doesn't tell you what time period it is in, and when I'm looking at it, it all looks like it looks like 40s. Everyone seems to be wearing 1940s attire and everything.
Well, I think Jean Pierre said in an interview, he said, we wanted to create a very different world, a universe outside of time. So it's not about being in a set time period or something. It's just its own little world universe to itself. And this is what we're critiquing and saying about it. Yeah, it's interesting. I think too, with the French society at the time too, like the overall, what people said, the overall mood was like it was a sense of transition. So it's like this, they're coming from this post-war sort of welfare state and coming this new globalized neoliberal order kind of coming in there. And there's a lot of mixture of like nostalgia, a bit of anxiety about where France was going towards are they becoming European? Are they saying French?
And I think not to, I'm sorry to jump in there, but I think not to underestimate the fact that, the Berlin Wall fell. So then there was that new world order, but then you've lost an enemy to kind of almost compare yourself against. Yeah. You know how this society's like, oh, okay, well, Soviet Union's fallen and now there's like German reunification and who are we
competing against?
Who are we competing against?
Who are we holding ourselves against?
Yeah. And there was that. I guess that probably adds a lot to it as well.
Well, we talked about last week in Escape, One to Work Away from Omelus. Like we're talking about Taoism, but the yin and yang. You kind of need that balance, and you can't always, if you're trying to hold up these values and your political system's better than the others, but if you've got no one to compare it against, then that's when you get lost in transition like that.
And I think like all empires kind of need other.
Oh, they need an enemy always.
They need an enemy to justify. Oh, see, it's much better over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
there was a 1987 stock market crash. So after the fall of the Berlin Wall, there was the German reunification in 1990. So because I think all the European economies were so interlinked, Germany reunifying, which obviously was a great thing, but they were spending a lot of money on modernizing and upgrading and fixing. So they France had to kind of lift their interest rates. So there was already a bit of a cost of living. 1990, there was a Gulf War as well. So that there was a price hike with oil as well.
Yeah, definitely. And what I've read too, it was especially in the 80s, the French were rejecting the old kind of far right side of their government style. So, and a lot of the traditional parties weren't coming in favor. They elected their first kind of socialist president in 1981, and he led it all the way to the 1995, Francois Mitterrand, I think his name is. And then they created a lot of tensions between left and right-wing ideologies and stuff. But then with the recessions and high unemployment and stagnation and inflation, many industrial jobs were starting to be lost as well when, because of things like globalization and deindustrialization as well.
Well, the Western world was sort of, I guess everyone was outsourcing to the Far East, weren't they? And we seem to see this all throughout the Western world.
Exactly. It's a common theme, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and also too, there was a big rise in immigration as well, coming from traditional colonies of France, from Africa and both North and West Africa. Sorry, and that's when you're seeing nationalists coming, fighting against it.
It probably would have added to the old identity crisis.
Exactly. And throw that to the mix, and then there was urban riots and violence incidents with the youth and the housing estates and things like that too. So there's tensions, but it seems like it's very similar to America in a way, right? You'd say like similar kind of tensions popping up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, sorry, just to circle back to Jeunet and Caro. So they actually did a short film in 1981 called The Bunker of the Last Gunshots, and this actually was like a prototype for Delicatessen in tone and style. Basically, it's about a group of soldiers in a bunker, and it's set in a post-apocalyptic war. So they're in that bunker awaiting an enemy that kind of never arrives, and they kind of descend into fucking absurd routines, and they're all cramped up, and they all start going mad, essentially.
You're getting cabin fever.
Yeah, cabin fever, but the absurdity of trying to hold on to that routine to kind of control everything, you can definitely see the hallmarks of that in Delicatessen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it kind of establishes the trademarks that these two would go on to have in all their other films, claustrophobic industrial sets, rhythmic sound effects, as you see, with the bed springs and pipes and
that's a great
and
scene.
Dripping taps and
the bed scene's very fun.
Yeah. Grotesque humor and I guess a critique of kind of pointless survival systems, essentially. That was where these are the real themes of the guys that you will see in their other movies.
Yeah, especially for Jeunet, he did that film. I remember always seeing the poster for it as Emilie came out in the early 2000s.
I think it was 2001.
Yeah. And I always remember seeing that popped up everywhere. And that was obviously his probably most famous film he's ever made. That's that broke the mainstream, you'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's another one, The City of the Lost Children, as well.
Okay.
Which is quite a something about kids being stolen to work in factories and all this sort of stuff. It's a real whimsical sort of tale, but I think probably a critique on capitalism, if I was to take a stab at that, is what it sounds like,
Yeah, I think in that movie too, they use the same actors from Delicatessen in it as well. So it seems like those we talked about, was it Carpenter and
Tarantino as well.
Yeah, Tarantino. We're saying, but Carpenter used Kurt Daddy for Kurt Russell for all 3 or 4 movies.
I prefer Kurt Daddy.
Yeah,
mate.
Kurt Daddy's better, isn't it? Yeah, it was, I think, those actors that they like to go use those same actors for different type of roles all the time, so they keep they kind of say law to each other in a way. So yeah, it seems that they use the same the actors we see from Jean-Claude Dreyfus and Dominic Pignon, I think it is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, he's the one who plays Louison, isn't
he?
Louison,
yeah. He was in the City of Lost Children as well. So yeah, interesting that they kept loyal to the same the trust and relationship they had with those actors. They kept them reappearing in their films. So they must really like their style and what the message they're trying to get out of it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to see that. Yeah, just back to French cinema at the time in the 80s, where gritty realism was the mainstream style of filmmaking, and how then this film was kind of trying to break the chains, shackles of that, and going back to the better, the old style, classic French style of filmmaking. And it was you could see that it was kind of breaking that rejection of it's rejecting
that blockbuster culture. You'd say,
black
right?
culture, all that American culture infiltrating the French filmmaking or the French culture in general, right? So you can definitely see those fingerprints all through this, right? Yeah.
Well, that's and I didn't understand at the time. I just thought it was your typical like, oh, fuck, it starts with the the title sequence with the accordion playing, and then there's frogs here, and then all like the circus stuff with the clown and the dancing and all that Cirque du Soleil shit.
It was also do with the frogs and the snails as well.
And the snails,
all the stereotype stuff. Yeah.
And then when I learned that, it was almost like a middle finger to that. Like, no, it's just homage to everything French, just throwing it in there. I'm like, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that it was almost done out of spite,
Exactly, and even the apartment block itself, or where above the Delicatessen, is very that French style decor, right? You'd say all the furniture and the tables and the chairs and things like that. Like, it feels very like it's like everything stereotypical about France in this thing.
I think the costumes, like the suits they're wearing, as I mentioned before, kind of that 40s and 50s nostalgia. Yeah, again, it's kind of that selective nostalgia, like thinking back to the 40s and 50s almost in French culture. Like when we were on the right side of history, we were fighting the Nazis, and we had an identity, and it kind of I feel like it's playing on all that. And like forgetting about all the bad stuff that came with it too. We went through selective nostalgia a few episodes ago on Demolition Man, but I feel like it plays into that too. Even you think like the dresses that Julie she's wearing, that very, very like simple, elegant kind of French style. Like I've always sort of like the French in general, particularly the women. There always seems to be an elegance. They always seem to know how to dress or know how to dress for the occasion. You'd sort of look back on those Second World War documentaries or something, and to show the French home front, and everyone just looks like that.
Yeah.
And that's just never changed in French culture, I don't think,
Yeah, you see like elegance and grace and
style.
Just
knowing how to be for every occasion. Because if there's one thing I could say about the French, and I don't say much good about them, it's that, Their food, and they fucking know how to dress.
Yeah. Yeah, and we see that through the film, don't we?
We do. All right. Well, before we get into the recap of the film, today it's just me drinking because what are you doing? Are you doing dry August or something? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I'm planning to have a big night later, so I'm pacing myself.
Oh, good on you, mate.
Yeah,
you've been soft because we're doing a French film.
Yeah, exactly. I've rolled over.
Well, you haven't rolled over. You would have rolled over to peer pressure already if you were French.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
So you've actually had a pretty stubborn defence there.
Yeah, exactly.
Churchillian, if I may say so.
Yes.
Well, it's just me today. I'm drinking a Budvar, which is the actual original Budweiser, the original King of Beers.
There we go.
So it's a Czech lager. So I suppose it is European. Funny story with this one, actually. This one's they've still been. I think it's a case that's been ongoing since the week before Germany invaded Czechoslovakia in 1939.
Oh, Sudetenland.
Yeah. So they've been arguing about the rights to the name for that long. So
oh wow.
Yeah, very well, kind of relevant to today's episode. We've spoken about the Second World War a little bit. So
yeah, it counts, I guess.
Yeah. It's European. So that's what I'm drinking. The original King of Beers, Budvar.
I'm a bit disappointed. You should be freaking to Australian lager only, mate.
Should be. Yeah. I think we've been through them. There's only about 3.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not drinking VB.
Yeah. What about Iron Jack?
Oh, is that still going?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bottom of the pits, that one.
To be honest, mate, I think I'd rather drink my own piss.
Yeah, well, we'll get into the summary now, won't we?
Yeah. All right. So, Delicatessen is set in a post-apocalyptic France where food is so scarce that human meat has become currency. The story follows a crumbling apartment building run by a butcher who lures drifters in, kills them, and feeds them to the tenants as part of their rent. A former clown named Louison arrives looking for work and falls in love with Julie, the butcher's daughter. As their relationship grows, Julie struggles with her loyalty to her father and her horror at what's happening in the building. Underground, a group called the Troglodytes, a kind of resistance, reject the system entirely. It clashes with the butcher toward chaos, culminating in frogs flooding the building and Louison and Julie escaping to the rooftop, playing music together as the smog finally clears.
Yeah,
so that's it in a nutshell.
Well, I think the opening scene kind of catches you a bit off guard because it's about that guy smuggling himself out.
Yeah.
And I first thought I thought the butcher was helping him. I don't know why, but then he gets in the can, he dresses up in the garbage or in the camouflage garbage thing, and then it goes back to him. He goes out to the garbage area. then he gets taken back into where the butcher is. The butcher's there, just like grabs the butcher's knife. And he's like, oh shit! And there's just like bang, just kills him. He's like, yeah.
But with that first scene, I'm sort of watching. I'm like, all right, what's the apocalypse here? And I'm like, why is there still a garbage service? Like that's kind of like, why are the garbage trucks coming? So like there's still this routine, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because then later on it goes to when he puts the ad out for his next victim, right? So basically, the premise is that the butcher lures his victims in by popping an ad in the paper. And then it kind of like he feels him out for like a week or something. Or he gets him to do handiwork around the place. And then when the time is right, that's when he strikes and then starts this.
And it's funny, the paper's called The Hard Times.
Yeah, exactly. The Hard Times. Yes, yeah. It's funny that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because that scene before, because when he puts the ad out, then it cuts to the scene too where you're seeing the delicatessen meat wrapped up in the old butcher's paper bag and stuff. And I think you were saying to me off air about that, like saying how it represents kind of when it comes to animal factory farming and stuff, how we're so many steps removed from it, and because it's wrapped up in this bag, we don't really see it for what it is.
To be honest with you, this is the biggest thing I take from this film. Like when I went down the rabbit hole researching this one and got onto factory farming and everything, like I think this is exactly what the film's critiquing, or like our reliance on meat and the fact that we don't need to do it. But that very scene, in the sense that they're all lining up and there's this sense of routine and it's all packaged up, so the tenants can somehow, like they know the unethical way the meat's got, but they can separate themselves from it.
Yeah,
like because it's all packaged up and then they pay for it, and it's all like they're removed, they're disassociated, and they might as well not know that somebody's been killed to get that meat.
Well, it's kind of like, oh, don't think about it. Head in the sand. Ignorance is bliss to it. I'm getting my meat fixed. That's all I care about.
Yeah. It like, and we laugh at it, sort of thing. It's funny, but it kind of should horrify us.
Yeah,
you know, in that sense, like. Because it got me, I sort of digged a little bit deep, and I like, you think back to like, you know, what have we, as civilization as we know it, or modern civilization, probably in the last 10,000 years, meat has never been, it was rare. You don't eat meat for dinner. You would generally live off the land, and you would hunt an animal only when you really needed to. Either the crops fell, or it was winter and you needed the fat. It was ritualistic. You would almost thank the animal for its sacrifice. You would use it, and it would almost be a last resort, and you didn't want, you know what I mean? Like you knew that, like, you were almost thanking the animal for its sacrifice kind of thing. And we could not be further away from that right now. I mean, you would use like the full animal as well. You know, you think like Native American tribes and stuff were using glue off of the like horses' hooves and, not horses' hooves, sorry. Buffalo, sorry. But it's almost looking, there was like this, you know, the post-World War II, I guess, when refrigeration came in and then like antibiotics came in, that was like daily meat became normalized.
Yeah.
Like I think about, you know, I talked about before when I'm like eating steak every night in hotels and that, when the steak would take up 3/4 of the plate and you'd have a little bit of salad for color, you know. Yeah. It kind of reminds you of that Batuta Advocate article. Like that salad's kidding itself if it thinks it's going to be eating.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I think we eat, I think 5 times as much protein as we need.
Oh yeah.
Like in the Western world, and we don't have to say fucking, you know, heart disease and cancers and all sorts of things in it, and not to mention the antibiotics that go into it as well. Like
also too, the food that they feed the cattle and the sheep, and like, you know, it's all processed, you know, pumping through those artificial. Oh
yeah, this led me, and I really like. I had to do it, but I watched a couple of documentaries on like factory farming, and like I really wish I didn't see some of the footage.
Oh no, I'm in high school seeing one of them too, and it was hard to watch. You had to turn away from it.
Yeah,
and especially if you're an animal lover, right?
Yeah, and I did, and this is the thing. Like we kind of thinking about Omelus last week. Like we're all complicit in this. Like I think factory farming is like, I think it's 99% of meat now. Like the conditions that these animals are kept in and crowded in, and like they, you know, cows' tails are cut off, chickens' beaks are sort of clipped and stuff, so they're not pecking at each other, and they're like they're sort of pumped through antibiotics to grow to their sort of slaughter weight in 6 or 7 weeks. But the antibiotics are sort of to also, so they're in these overcrowded pens and they're living in squalor and shit. So it's kind of to keep them alive. So if they weren't pumped full of antibiotics, they could never survive in these conditions.
Yeah, and
it's like, it's just what a fucking horrible existence, and you're like. It's really uneasy, you know, like watching it. And
it's a bit like I have their mouth in my screen a bit. Yeah,
yeah, it is, and I sort of like, and you dig deeper. It's like we actually don't, as a species, we don't require meat. We need 50 to 70 grams of protein a day. You could get that. You could get that off like bread and eggs, or you could have some legumes or grain. Like you don't actually need meat, or if you did, it'd be like in your palm.
Yeah,
like, not a fucking massive steak. Like it's.
Yeah, but what about those gains, bro?
I know. There is that.
But still, like,
I mean,
exactly.
You could have 1 to 2 servings of meat a week, and you don't need to do it. But we kind of, I know myself. Like if I haven't had meat, mentally, I'm hungry. And I know that's a mental thing.
Yeah, I think every day I eat some form of meat. I think, like chicken or whatever it is, or
and I think the way meat is, we do it because it's affordable, it's convenient, and it's tasty. That's why we do it.
Oh yeah.
But there was so much of this. I see this whole movie as a critique on it, and not to mention like the damage that factory farming does to the planet.
The amount of animals that pass through each year, if you count like seafood into that, it's in the hundreds of billions.
Yeah,
and like you think of their waste and stuff going into like the water supply and then the transport and the greenhouse gases and I think 20 or 25% of the world's emissions come from this. And but I think it's more than cars, it's more than transport and planes and everything put together.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing that we can kind of fix. I don't want to sound too preachy here, but it just sort of opened up a thing like it's the one thing that we can fix. And we can make a better decision. I kind of think...
Well, that's why they're trying to test with the plant-based meats and stuff, aren't they, now? Yeah, but they're too expensive and to make it on an industrial scale yet. And
well, they're too expensive because...
Yeah, there's also... You could argue that it's kind of like the same fossil fuel industry where they're trying to like pump fear out about all the negative side effects of the plant-based food, but then... You think oh that's just propaganda, or they're just doing that because they're an alternative motive,
Well, and that's what I think, and that's what I kind of think like the troglodytes. I will get into them a little bit later, but what they represent in Delicatessen, like they're shown as like see the propaganda like they're the other, they're the enemy, they're almost the eco terrorists, but they're the only ones sort of ethically and morally. Sorry, the only ones that sort of have ethics and morals,
Exactly, yeah.
but it's like what happens, vegan activists in our world, where like, the ones that'll fucking walk into a steak restaurant and throw blood over everyone, which I don't agree with that approach, but you know how they're often vilified by the media or like they're shown as soft or I feel like it's like because we don't want to see the truth because we're like, oh fuck, we just don't want to see it. We don't want to.
Yeah, but it's the way you approach it though. If you're going in there calling. Like it's like basic human psychology. If someone goes and says, "You're a piece of shit. I hate you. You're a horrible person," you're just like, oh, "Stuff you. I don't care. Mate, that's gonna make me want to eat it more now." Like
There is that angle.
That's the tactic they use. It doesn't work. Like
then it's probably a bit more of a nuanced approach. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But what we are complicit, and we're as complicit as the tenants in Delicatessen for lining up for the meat. Exactly. They know where it comes from, but they don't want to. They want to separate themselves from it, and they pretend because it's all packaged up, it's okay,
Well, it's a bit like that quote you brought in last week's episode from A Few Good Men. How it's like you need people like the butcher represents that. You need people like me because you won't go and purposely get the meat yourself, but you need meat. But then you need me to go there and create this situation to get your little fix of that little fine taste of life, of the meat. So yeah, it kind of shows that we're all a bit like we can sit here and go, oh, this is terrible, but then we're not doing anything to stop it. We still are participating in it.
I think that opens up a pretty good discussion point as well with like the butcher. There'd almost be that pragmatism versus morality, and it opens up so many things. Like he isn't portrayed as well, I guess he is a villain, but like.
But he's a cartoonish villain, isn't he?
Yeah. But that's kind of what this movie does all the way through, doesn't it? It shows horror, but it's I guess it's a very definition of a dark comedy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the way it's doing it, but he's kind of that like necessary monster, isn't he? He, as you say, he's doing the things that others won't. So it kind of like it allows everyone to have their hands clean and sort of then say, oh, he's a monster,
Yeah, but then it's like but then like at the same time, but you're still participating in his actions, aren't you? Like you're confirming what he's doing is right by partaking in it. Yeah.
And the tenants are complicit, right? They're partners in crime. They don't hold the knife, but they are partners in crime because they're surviving off of it. They're living off of it. But it opens up things like where like I guess survival versus morality. I mean, like I remember like some historical parallels. We talked about Leningrad a few episodes ago. Now I won't go over that again, but I guess the need for times are bad. Needs for human meat. Like morality, kind of, you would argue, gets you nowhere in a survival situation. And morality probably makes you weak, right?
Yeah,
and I guess that's why we see, there's different wartime leaders and there's different peacetime leaders. You know? I guess the one that comes to mind is, I suppose, Winston Churchill. Yeah, there's a reason. I mean, he was voted out a month or two before the war ended.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, if you needed a man in war to be ruthless, that was him. You know. I guess the first thing that kind of comes to mind is the Bengal famine in 1943 when he'd redirected food to go, or rice to go, or supposedly redirected rice to go to the front line as opposed to go to Bengal to help with the famine. And I think about 3 million people died, but he would justify that as sort of propping up the war effort. Now, it's kind of undefendable when you look back now. but you weren't there at the time. You know what I mean? There are these people that he kind of had to be that necessary monster. You would argue.
Yeah. What I find interesting about the butcher's tactics as well. So he lures in his victims from what we've said earlier via the newspaper. It's kind of like he does this to dehumanize the victim coming in, so the tenants don't get attached or have any affinity with them. Obviously, our main protagonist that comes in does break that mold, but it just shows like he's very tactical in that way. But like I'm not going to use any of our own people and stuff like that. I'll use them to do it, because then that way everyone can disassociate from it, not think about it, and just think, oh, it's just another. I don't have any care for him, so let it go ahead, kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel, and watching it on the second time, I picked this up, but with him and Julie's romance. Which is, I don't know what, I'm not really someone that's been into the romance thing, but it's one of my favorite bits of the film is the romance between him and Julie.
Yeah, the feeling out period.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I kind of really like it. It's almost one of my favorite bits.
Well, when it happens, right, because he's walking up, he's fixing something on the roof, isn't he? And then she walks past, and then as soon as she gives him the look, he's like, oh, I know where it's going now. Like, I
think she's very girl next door, isn't she?
Yeah. She seems like she has a really like a nice personality, nice side to her. Like, she means well kind of person. Yeah. And you can just tell, like, she's only in this predicament because her father's the butcher. So, and then we find out later too, that they haven't got the best relationship, do they? So, because he rules by fear.
Yeah, there's that. But I think like what it hints at me is like is people will only. Oh, we touched on this in the lottery episode. People will only react when it affects them. So she becomes attached to Louison. And then she's suddenly got a problem with it. Now, I don't think you see her eating meat at any point. Well, I think she opens a fridge and there's like a
paper bag.
So you understand.
Yeah.
But so obviously she's alive and she's here. So she's obviously been complicit to survive this far. But it hits home that like she's now got a problem with it because she's seen it and she's attached to it. And I guess that's why like, on farms, you don't get attached to the animals. You know what I mean? Like, and she now has a problem. She wants to change it.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. Was that movie Babe? Because remember they were raising they get the pig and they're going to raise it to cook it and kill it, but then they get attached to the animal and it becomes like a sheepdog as well. And then it gets to that point where, I'm actually getting affinity for this thing, so I can't do it. Yeah. So when you actually when it's presented to you in your face or like in your vicinity, it's not an easy thing to go through.
Well, yeah, and this is even more like the fact that talking about the butcher who plays that role, who does these things so they don't have to.
Yeah,
it's almost like in where we are. I guess the workers at the slaughterhouse, they do these things. I mean, I think there's massive issues and mental issues with people at the slaughterhouses that just watching them. Imagine killing something. That's your job. You know what I mean? It's got to do something to you.
Yeah,
but these people do it so we don't have to.
Yeah, but I think we said in a couple of episodes again too about how you come desensitized to it. Exactly. Yeah. So I think maybe the first couple of days would be confronting, but then you just get used to it. So it just comes like it's like another job, another day. Just But
I think it would do something to you, but
I think after a while you would become numb to it, kind of thing. So you just go through the motions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we see that through wars, through other forms of when violence erupts. People just become numb to it. So. Yeah, it is funny too with how the silly tactics she does to like try and avoid him getting slaughtered. Where was it the one she feeds him the sleeping tea or something all the time, and then he misses the time where he's meant to go downstairs to get slaughtered or something like that, and other things happen like that as well.
And then the fella's mother-in-law gets I guess he's low on his rent or he's late for his rent, and then he sort of kills his mother-in-law.
Yeah,
but I think this kind of plays into the whole factory farming angle as well, where it's like all right, what happens to the cow that can't produce any milk anymore? That's no longer profitable. It's like off to the slaughterhouse with you kind of thing. It's like she's old now and that's it. Like she's had her time. We can't support her anymore, so give her up. I guess because they like Louison, he kind of and they needed a victim. I guess she sort of takes that place for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. It seems like this always comes up in a lot of our episodes, but it's always the critiquing capitalism, right? So it kind of is showcasing, because the butcher has like 30 bags of grain and corn or whatever it is down in his basement, and theoretically that could feed the hundreds of tenants and people in the surrounding area. But because he's so greedy and grotesque and gluttonous, he's keeping all the capital to himself. And doesn't want to share it. Then he'll sacrifice someone and then spread that as the form of getting food around, as opposed to what he's got there, like as a survivalist thing. Yeah, it's kind of like a billionaire hoarding all their billions of dollars and stock value.
You think what's the purpose?
What's the purpose of it? What's the end game with it? Yeah,
but it also makes me think like, and I'm talking about this factory farming angle too, where like they're all fed grain and things, and like the tons and billions of tons of grain to feed these animals, when you could just like Why don't you just go straight? It seems absurd. Why don't you just go straight to the source? What are we doing? And it comes down to money. It comes down to capitalism. It comes down to the fact there's a market. You know, like it just seems absurd. Like that's the way it is. We don't need to do it, but we do.
Yeah, exactly.
And the cost to sort of our health and the planet and just goes out the window because there's a market. Money's going to be made. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me a bit of that. The butcher reminds me a bit of that Sally Struthers episode out of South Park. You know, oh, she's not having trouble finding any food, is she? Like that. You know?
No, this is my cake.
Daddy, give me that cake.
No, you can't have any.
You guys, Sally Struthers is holding food from us.
Oh, that is classic South Park.
Oh, it is, yeah.
I mean, I was challenged to see if I could get a South Park reference into this one, and we've got two.
Here we go.
And it's not over yet.
More to come, maybe. Who knows?
Oh God, that is. I know I already said that is classic South Park.
Oh, it is.
That's
yeah.
Starvin' Marvin episode.
That's great, isn't it? But it is that it is kind of true in that way. Like he's kind of similar in that way, isn't he? The butcher.
Yeah, he is. Now, one of the best scenes. And probably one of the most iconic scenes of this, now that we're talking about the butcher, I think, is that bed spring scene. The sex scene. Now, I was shown this before I saw the movie, and I didn't understand it. Like, I watched it, and I couldn't really understand the critique of
If you see it out of context, you'd be like, what the hell is this? Yeah.
But then even when I watched the movie the first time, I'm like, I felt like it was absurdity for absurdity's sake. Like, I feel like I've said the word absurd a lot.
Yeah, well, the film does it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's the whole point, isn't it? Yeah.
But I felt like it was just thrown in there for that sake. And then on the second watch, I kind of got it. What about you? Yeah,
it was very obscure at first watching it, but then when I saw it again, it was actually quite clever, and I liked the film techniques as well. The jump cuts all the way through it as well, because as he's going through the motions and it gets faster,
approaching climax,
it cuts here, there, and then and that one motion, because when he does climax, then like something else happens in the other scene of the room. You know, it's very clever in that way.
Yeah, and I think to me the whole thing seems to be like a bit of an allegory for like that cling to routine. Yeah, you know, and I think you think of the whole movie. I mentioned like the bins and everything going out, and how people seem to be going through their day. There's a postman delivering packages, and Louison is painting, and he's fixing things, and like everyone's got a routine, and it's like you know, you remember during like COVID. Do you remember when like and it was all uncertain outside, but then suddenly everyone's baking and cooking and making sourdough and
renovations to the house,
renovating and cleaning obsessively, learning a new skill, binge watching, like anything to kind of distract yourself from what's actually going on, because that kind of routine gives you, I guess, you feel like you've got control.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we see that in
it gives you a purpose, right?
So, yeah, we see it in wartime. We just see it. It doesn't take long for routine to kick back in again, does it? And I feel like this whole scene is an allegory for that, in the sense that, like, you know, the tenants, they're kind of obsessing over small repetitive tasks. I think you've got Louison's painting a ceiling. You've got Julie playing is it a violin she's playing, or is it a
cello, isn't it?
Cello, yeah, I'm not very good with those instruments, but
it's a big one, the cello,
yeah. One of them's, I think, cleaning shoes or beating a mat or something.
Oh, one's beating the rug, remember?
One's beating the rug, and then like they can all hear what's going on, and it's getting louder and louder and louder, and they're getting faster and faster,
and more in rhyme with it,
pretending it's not happening. But, you know, like, on the second time, I'm like, actually, that's very clever, in the way he's kind of critiqued that. It's an homage to like French cinema, like with the accordion and everything going, like, and all the slapstick stuff. I'm like, that's a very clever scene.
Yeah, as I said earlier, like the way it cuts as well. It doesn't feel too distracting as well. It's just like bang, 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 here. Yeah, it's all in sync, and it all lines up perfectly. Yeah, it's very well done.
Yeah, and it kind of, and I often wonder, like, it kind of made me think of Shaun of the Dead for an odd reason. Like when you know, when they're in the Winchester, and then the pub owner comes out and Don't Stop Me Now, Queen's on, and they're sort of hitting him in like unison. And I often wonder if it's a nod to it. Like,
it could be, yeah. It's funny when shows do that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Like some obscure nod. That's my first thought. So I don't know.
Another scene I like too is when the mistress brings Louison into the room to fix the spring. And they're jumping to the spring, trying to figure out where it's gone wrong. It's all in sync and stuff.
And there's some hula dance thing going on the TV.
Yeah, it was very obscure, but I don't know what it's trying to say or something, but it's just, but I found it funny as well. Like, the emotion of it.
There's all these little things in it that, like personally for me on second viewing, I'm like, I actually really appreciate it, and it's comforting, and I can see why it is such a cult film for these little things, but I can't quite explain why. I just it's kind of nice. I don't know. It's
a bit like when Homer was watching Twin Peaks. You know, oh, brilliant! I've got no idea what's going on. Is it like?
That's damn fine coffee you got here in Twin Peaks, and damn good cherry pie.
Brilliant. I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it has this quirky, weird stuff to it, but then it intrigues you. It like lures you in, and you're going to get lost in the world of it. Yeah.
I can't think of another film that's quite done this to me. Well, I mean, probably 28 years later for separate reasons. You know, like I think I was just hoping. I guess, kind of similar now that I think about it in what it did to me. Like it didn't quite sink in, and then it did.
Yeah,
so I had to sort of. But this one in particular, the way I just, and I'm in a lot of ways I'm grateful to doing this podcast. I've probably said that a lot for actually making me dig deep and find out and learn, because I tell you, after that first watch, I would have just thought, fuck that, I'm never watching that again.
Oh, what a terrible, or not terrible, like, oh, this is very obscure, not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I've done that, I'd never watch it again, and I would have never understood it, you know?
Exactly, yeah. I think we've done a couple episodes, like, you know, a couple of short stories we've read, like, oh, I would have heard of this if I didn't think of it, you know, writing down an episode idea. So, yeah, no, it's really good in that way, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and then films like this makes you think of things and go down rabbit holes you wouldn't think you'd go down. So...
On first viewing as well, when I watched it, and I don't know her name. I just keep calling her the butcher's mistress. Is her name mentioned in it? Is it Madame Plusset or Plus or?
Yeah, Madame Lucier Plus, I think. Yeah.
She starts off differently, and then at the end she's kind of likable. You know when she comes to like Louison's flat, and then because to show him that he's on the TV or something, and they're doing that fucking stupid dance or something when he's got like 3 legs. I'm like, that's another scene that I kind of like, but I'm like, what are they doing? Like,
yeah, no, it's so.
Why has he got another like fake leg? And I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, we found out he's a silly clown. You know, they do silly. They got the shenanigans. Those silly clowns, don't they?
Yeah. It's just But she, in first instance, you know, the way she was like in the first scene, and then like you can quite tell there's something between her and the butcher, and then obviously we could definitely tell with the sex scene. That, you know, but it kind of reminded me, and I also wonder if it was actually a nod to like Coco Chanel, with like a lot of people I don't think know about her antics during the Second World War. I feel, and I add that because of the strength of the brand today. She had affairs with quite a few Nazi officers at the time. I think most notably Hans Gunther von Dinklage, but a lot of people actually say she was a Nazi agent as well. But what we do know is she was a rabid anti-Semitic and homophobic, and she wasn't scared to share her views. So I always wonder if it's a bit of a nod to that. Like I suppose she kind of did what she had to do, I suppose, to survive that time. But it kind of helped that she was an anti-Semite as well. Like you know what I mean? But the fact that she was supposedly, like, I think supposedly after after the war, German officers had actually testified that she was a Nazi agent. Supposedly she had a quite a good relationship, a personal relationship with Winston Churchill as well. So it even goes as far as saying that she may have had some incriminating information on King George VIII as well, because obviously there's, you know, allegedly, we all know it, but obviously King George VIII as a Nazi sympathizer and everything.
Yeah.
So supposedly she had some information, which is why she kind of got off scot-free with it.
Used the leverage to her advantage.
Yeah, she did. But it's an interesting story with her. Like, it's funny, her in 2011, like a lot of people were talking about her as like an anti-Semite and homophobic, and I think her company came out to defend her in 2011 to defend the name, saying, "Oh, no, she couldn't have been an anti-Semite because she had Jewish business partners." and I'm like, nah, that's and then you look a little bit further. So in 1924, there was an American German family, the Wertheimers, who actually invested in a business and got it off the ground. But they took 90% ownership and left her with 10%. So it was kind of like, I guess she would have been quite resentful of that deal. Like, she needed it, but they took 90% of the company. But during the Second World War and occupied France, when the Aryanization laws came in, obviously Jewish people couldn't have businesses and everything, or they were forced to go on a register, and their business would either be just taken from them or sold at like really low prices, kind of thing. Well, I think they called it a distress sale or something like that.
Okay.
and she tried to take advantage of these through Von Dinklage to actually take the business from the Wertheimers. So they were very clever in the sense they saw this coming and they transferred it over to a Christian associate who took the business. Oddly enough, and then she went into, like, I think after the war, she went to Switzerland to kind of hide away a little bit. And in 1954, the Wertheimers, the very people she was trying to steal the company from, paid for her to come back and invested in her. And the Wertheimers still own Chanel, or most of Chanel today. The irony of it, so it's like they almost like forgot everything and saw that, well, you know, she's the backbone of this, she's the name and the money we're going to make, and money sort of trumped kind of morality, I guess. You know, it's
well, the fact it's still so relevant that a brand today says like the legacy's outlasted the negative side of it.
But it's a very interesting story, and then she just got away with it scot free. You know, it's just
I love that.
And hardly anyone knows about it today, you know? Like it's
From what I've read too, the actual original Chanel No. 5 fragrance bottle was like, you know, that has that little crystal top to it. Apparently that was they got that from, because there was a big influx of Russian immigrants that came to Paris after the Civil War in Russia.
Yeah.
When the Red Terror happened. And was it the vodka flasks had that design on top of it, and that's where she got the inspiration from.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw it in a documentary. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's it makes sense. Yeah.
And I say that probably would come up on a trivia
question.
Yeah,
definitely.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those obscure references. Yeah. I think it was in that Apocalypse series. You know, the one that World War One. It's like in between.
I have
wars.
seen that, and I must say I didn't pick that bit up.
No, it's the one that was in between the wars. So it's like just after. It's like between 1919 to 1934, before Hitler got into power. Basically, it's around that time. So yeah, we're talking about how the transition between post World War One to leading up to World War Two. But yeah, they mentioned that was the inspiration from. Like, oh, it's interesting.
I've not seen that. I'll have to give that a watch.
Yeah,
that one in between. But it's interesting, and we're off topic, but we'll try and stay on target.
Yep.
But a lot of historians do actually see the two wars as one, don't they?
Yeah,
because all the players were sort of, you know, infantrymen and soldiers in the first who came on to have sort of relevant roles in the second. So it's kind of like the same movie almost, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. It's kind of it's interlinked. I mean, you don't have World War II without World War One, do you? It had those the parameters, didn't it?
It does. Yeah.
So, as you said earlier, back on target. Stay on target.
Stay on target. Yeah.
Stay on target. We're too close. Stay on target.
I think you mentioned earlier too about the troglodytes. This resistance group. You know, they're kind of like they're like vegans and they're very anti the meat and stuff. But they're kind of like bumbling buffoons as well at the same time. Like they're sophisticated, but then they're making all these silly errors and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that plays into the way they're portrayed in this. Is like we touched on it before, how we would treat whistleblowers, or we would treat activists, and they're soft, they're bumbling, they're ignorant, they don't know what they're going on about.
Yeah,
I think the media and us, we all seem to treat them in the same way, and I think that's kind of what they are.
Yeah,
why they're portrayed in the way they are. I mean, even the word, like, I guess troglodyte literally means, the Greek word that literally means like cave dweller.
Yeah,
so that would insinuate that, like, I guess we would say it about like ancient peoples that lived in caves or underground dwellings, but it's kind of like sort of uses it. I guess it is used as an insult in the movie, isn't it? Like, you'd imply that someone's sort of like, I don't know, primitive or backward or out of touch or something. And I think that is what we tend to do with activists and stuff, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know how it really works, you know?
It's kind of similar to bring up against Escape from New York. You know, when those people from underground come out in the sewers looking for their fixing or whatever, they're kind of similar. But this is a lot more, way better done than.
But you don't know why they're there or what they're doing.
They're just there for aesthetic reasons, aren't they?
John Carpenter never really explained that one.
No, but it's kind of like, it was always associated to like sewer people, like they're scum of the earth. They're rejects of the society, aren't they? So. But I did find it funny. There was, out of all of them, they're meant to be vegans eating on a very minimalistic diet. There was a Porkins down there, you know, from Star Wars. Yeah,
the big fella.
Yeah. He had a bit like Sally Charles. He had no trouble finding some food. Yeah,
he's been putting those legumes away, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
No legumes safe around the big fella.
Oh yeah. No wonder they had to go steal some more bloody grains and food from the butcher.
Are you fat shaming?
Oh, I think I might be actually. Yeah, sorry. It is 2025. I can't do that now.
It was the 90s, mate. It was fine.
Yeah, you can get away with it back then. I mean,
Porkins.
Yeah, Porkins. Yeah.
I'm right with you, Red Street.
I mean, the film took the piss out of suicide and bloody fat people and everything. That no one was safe from this film.
It's a simpler time, Matthew.
It was. But it's funny too. It's kind of how she sells out her own father to the It's kind of like I viewed it as like a bank heist in a way, like a secret bank heist where the treasured gold or where the cash is in the safe. You have to go through this tunnel under here to drill through here to grab it and get out of there. And then they use the guys. Well, if you're going to do that, you have to kidnap Louison to do that. And they grabbed the mistress by mistake.
They grabbed the mistress. Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny too. And they got wrapped her up and. I think was it when they'll go back to get the actual grains themselves. One of them cuts her loose, isn't it? From memory, yeah,
and kisses her, and then like,
yeah.
I guess so. Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely not written, and definitely not 2025.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that was consensual, in all honesty. But
no.
I think that was sort of all right in 90s cinema.
Yeah,
touchy subject.
Yeah, exactly.
But a second time around, the troglodytes I actually really appreciated. And they're a lot more sophisticated than they look, aren't they?
Yeah,
But I think they represent the alternative, and the alternative's kind of dark and it's scary, and it's you can survive without having to eat meat. You can survive without following this system. There is another way, but it's just possibly that something that you're not used to.
I kind of also represents too. We see a lot of resistance groups. It's never easy as well. It's always like a struggle. It's always you're going to go through tough times if you're sticking to your core beliefs, right? So it kind of really illustrates that, even though like it's what they think they're doing is morally right, and in the grand scheme of things they probably are, but at the same time too, they're struggling to find food. They're having to steal from other people and commit acts and stuff that they probably wouldn't have done unless the circumstances were in a different position, kind of thing. If that makes sense. Like it's the predicament they're in where they have to resort to those kind of tactics to get their food, basically.
Yeah, it's sort of that thing we touched on before with like survival versus morality.
Yeah.
In the sense that the tenants have joined the system and they sort of survive by compromising on their morals, where these guys, they live ethically, but they're kind of marginalized and they sort of starve and their life's a struggle. The film kind of paints them first as fools and then as sort of, I wouldn't say heroes, but they're very much, they seem to be the good guys. But like I'm sort of left like, what are they? Fools, heroes, both? I don't.
Yeah, I'm in the same kind of camp with it in that regards. They're kind of like they're a bit, you'd say a bit like Winston in 1984 a little bit, where like kind of they got this idea about rebelling and there's a way to beat the system, but then at the end of the day the system gets them, like kind of thing, right? Or like it's kind of futile in a way.
I don't know, like if the system. Like, I guess when it gets to the ending, we see, we see, I guess, where they flood the Louison and Julie kind of flood the bathroom, and all the tenants are trying to break them down and kill Louison, I guess for meat. It's all this bit of desperation, but then we see like it's flooded and the doors open, and then you start to see like frogs and stuff jump through, almost like nature reclaiming. I guess that's what it's sort of saying.
Yeah.
But then we see the net drop down, and then Julie goes up with the troglodytes. But that's kind of the last we see of them.
Yeah.
And then old Mistress brings the Australian, which we haven't mentioned, which is some fucking boomerang knife thing. Or
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was, I forgot about that. That was very bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah. And those two fucking kids are trying to steal their parents or whatever. Like.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things, like, the kids are about 8 or 9 or something. And they're having a dart. I'm like, oh, all right.
I kind of like the kids as well. They look like little shits.
Yeah, they're taking the piss and stuff. Yeah, having a bit of fun. Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, the boomerang. Yeah, there's like I saw it. They called it obviously it's in French as well. But he goes, Australiana, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah,
yeah. It's very weird. But but yeah, we get onto that. And obviously, the butcher's killed. But then we see. The last we see of them is, I think, when Julie climbs up on the net and they go up to the roof, and then the final scene, it sort of goes in. It's kind of that nice accordion. It's them two playing music, and he's playing the
saw, isn't it?
The saw thing.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but yeah.
Another thing, and she's playing the cello, and the smog's cleared, and
yeah, I guess yeah. And when you put it that way, I guess it isn't really like 1984, I guess, but I still find it's kind of like they got like the reason why the butcher fell wasn't because of them; it was because of the actions of Louison and Julie. Sorry, yeah, not what they were doing, kind of thing. I mean, I know they help out here and there, but like their act, it's still kind of a bit. They're having a role to play, but I don't think it was that effective in the grand scheme of things, right? So maybe the building's been rejuvenated with the flushing out of the system that you said earlier with the water and stuff, but then the rest of the society still hasn't been fixed, has it?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the point of them in this. Like, there's ambiguity. There's no all ruling system that's going to work. I guess they represent the alternative, but it's ambiguous to see where Julie and Louison go at the end. You know, when they're playing the music and I guess the smog's cleared and it's the sunshine and it's all idyllic again.
Yeah.
But it's like, what now for them? Do they join them, or do they kind of stay in the system they're in? And
or do they become the landlords now and make it better for everyone around? Yeah, it's kind of ambiguous in that way, isn't it?
But it's also the way it ends and like how it all seems to be happy and peaceful. It's like you can have morality now in peacetime. That's fine. Like, morality's fine in peacetime, but you can't have it in chaos. Like, it's like that.
Yeah.
What is it like? What peacetime creates weak men, and
the bad times create strong men create good times create weak men.
Yeah.
And weak men make bad times. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of leads me feeling that. I guess, like, it all seems happy, but like a lot of these things we've done, I think it's more ambiguous than anything.
Definitely, yeah. Before we wrap this up, this episode too, another scene I really liked too was when Julianne and Louise are having that conversation with each other, and he's explaining how he was in the circus and he's a famous TV clown, and he had his partner, and his partner passed away. Wasn't his comic partner?
Yeah, Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Livingston. And then at the end, you find out Mr. Livingston was actually a monkey the whole time.
A big silly monkey.
Silly monkey. Yeah, I thought it was really clever, but then it showed that he had that real emotional connection to it as well, and how they were symbiotic in their act together. Yeah. And you kind of felt sad that the monkey passed away as well. Like, oh, this is hitting you right in the feels now. Like,
wouldn't have been a nice end for the monkey. Like, they ate him, you know.
Yeah.
And that would happen, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. It's sad in that way, but. How would you view the film now? Like, I want to wrap this up, but like, you know,
I really appreciate it, and it's not my favorite film in the world, but I'm glad I've watched it, and I probably will watch it again. And it's one of those ones that I think someone will bring up at a party one day, and I'll say, oh yeah, I didn't get this, and I didn't get, but I'd probably defend it.
Yeah.
And so no, actually, there's more to this than meets the eye, or it's something comforting about it, and I can't quite put my finger on why, but I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it for making me think. What about you?
Yeah, I'm like same kind of boat as well, and it's because I went in knowing what it was kind of going to be about. I took it on board, and I enjoyed some of the slapstick. But it wasn't annoying slapstick. You know, sometimes some slapsticks can be a bit over the top, and it's like, okay, can we get to it? But it felt like it had a purpose to it, a meaning to it. It was trying to like get you out of your comfort zone in a good way.
But it annoyed me in the beginning. I felt it was too over the top in the beginning, so I don't know what I was going in thinking.
Yeah,
you know?
interesting.
But it's interesting we sort of had varying views on that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think the acting's very well done too. Like you buy the you feel them. You feel every character has their own personality and reason and purpose behind them. Yeah, no one feels bland or obscure or anything. Or it's gonna be like what's the word, homogenized or anything like that. You know.
Yeah. But I think obscure, when you say like obscure for the sake of being obscure, like it feels like you can understand why they would be that way, you know?
Exactly, yeah. And what it does too, it doesn't, even though we've talked about themes it's raising about capitalism and factory farming, it doesn't throw it in your face and try and preach it to you either. It's kind of just saying it, it's doing it, and it's making you think about it, but not. It's doing it making it more ambiguous as opposed to saying this is what's wrong with the world and you're a bad person kind of thing, you know?
Well, it's presenting it, and I think that's what's so clever at the ending with the troglodytes. It just shows that it's an alternative. It doesn't show that this is the answer.
Yeah,
and we can all take a lot from that, I think. You know?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's no, highly recommend anyone to give it a watch. And yeah, thanks to the Daily Doggy for recommending it, because it's definitely a film I would never have ever thought to watch or ever really heard of.
And thank you, Daily Doggy. That was initially, as I say, I thought it was a stitch up, but I'm really glad you recommended that one. I appreciated it.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said earlier too, even though the dystopia is in the backdrop, but that doesn't really matter because it was said when you compare it to Escape from New York, where it was more about the escape of the president getting out, where this felt like it was all incorporated, and even though it is a backdrop, but it still made you think those thoughts and feelings, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, I think that will wrap up this week's episode. And what can the viewers expect next week, Andrew?
We are doing a Twilight Zone episode next week. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. The episode is called A Thing About Machines, and it came out in 1960. So very old school Twilight Zone. We previously touched on a Twilight episode in episode 5, Examination Day, but that was the 80s rendition of the anthology series. So We're going very old school.
Very old 60s, and I've had a look at this. It's real campy robots and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's about the technology around him just starts to attack him, or attack the main character, so could be very relevant to what's going on in today's society. So
the future war that's coming.
Exactly. Our AI overlords, yes.
Yes.
But yeah, as always, guys, hit us up on our social medias. It's at Dystopia Pod for Instagram and Tumblr. You can send us an email, info@dystopediapodcast.com. Follow us on YouTube at Dystopedia Podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, see us on our reels and our clips and things like that. And on behalf of myself and Andrew, we'll catch you next week.
See you next time.